alternate history, diesel punk, and good old-fashioned well-researched demonology. What's not to love?
Welcome to Catechism, you faithless infidels. My name is Sir Augustine, Witch Hunter General of... Oh, by St. Lucia's eyes. Enough of the introduction. I have orders to explain the history of our glorious kingdom to you, bunch of degenerates, and due to my inability to care about the education of newcomers, I'm going to be showing a film of recent events from Melchior Giesel, who I believe needs no introduction. Now sit back and learn, squires. This stuff is important.
From the true and official annals of church history, as told by Melchior Giesel, year of our Lord, 1910. For 300 years, the Principality of New Antioch has stood defiantly as the focal point of the church and the faithful, at the very edge of the shadow of smoke cast by the gate of hell. It is the home of all our hopes, the bulwark against the heretic forces, and the first line of defense against the devil's might. Should Antioch fall, all of the Levant shall be lost. War has never left this corner of the world. The ancient city of Antioch was destroyed by a mysterious demonic weapon in the year 1545, but the faithful have never given up their positions in the ruins. Despite the lethal demonic essence emanating from the crater that was left behind, the garrison held on, even as the mighty Constantinople fell to the legions of Chimerus, the Marquis of Hell. Before it was destroyed, the ancient city of Antioch was always the first defense to be put to the test. Thus, it is no wonder that in the year of our Lord, 1559, the Sword Congress of Vienna agreed to rebuild and fortify the city. Agreed to also by the Austrians that day was that a yearly tithe be sent to the new Antioch by all the faithful nations of Europa. Though this levy is rarely in the form of coin, instead, endless supply of trains and foodstuffs, tools, ammunition, weaponry, machinery, skilled workers and engineers from across Europa and the Mediterranean Sea, as well, of course, the African dominions. Keeping the supply route open is a constant game of cat and mouse, as heretic infiltrators and raiders harry the caravans and ships that allow the principality to exist to this day. Since those days, New Antioch has grown to be the most important fortress city in the world, the sword of Africa and the shield of Europa. All the princes of the church and the heads of various states and dominions who oppose hell understand that it is better to fight as many battles against the heretics away from their heartlands as possible. And so to this day, New Antioch has withstood 8 great sieges, and its famed walls and their 77 mighty towers have never been breached. This is partly due to the hundreds of Akarites, metallic battle shrines with entombed devout inside of them that are embedded into the walls and keep a vigilant watch over day and night. More than anything else, it is the volunteers who come to serve under the banner of Christ that ensures the continuous existence of the principality. Thus, in the streets of the city, one can hear hundreds of languages and dialects, and witness the hussars of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth rush soldiers with the last remnants of the Varangian Guard, or hear the sermons of the street preacher from Ireland extolling the soldiery of Ethiopia to lay their lives down for the cause, or see the church engineers' procession taking their latest invention to be tested in the front lines. This all happens underneath the watchful eyes of the promulgation of virtue. The office of the promulgation of virtue, that is. They tirelessly patrol the streets. While they are quite happy to turn a blind eye to the revelry of soldiers, they furiously and ferociously persecute even the slightest deviation from church doctrine. The execution of heretics is indeed a spectacle that draws in immense crowds. Factories spew black smoke from newly constructed tanks rolling out of the workshops. Foundries burn white-hot day and night to keep the artillery battalions, the pride and joy of New Antioch, at full strength. In the techno-laboratories of the city, the church toils away in creating superhuman communicants empowered by the cloned flesh and blood of the Redeemer. Thousands of workers give their lives in horrific accidents and are overworked each year. Great statues celebrating their sacrifices are erected throughout the city. Despite all these preparations, it is the grim reality that New Antioch could never withstand the full onslaught of a combined heretic offensive. It is only thanks to the ferocious and bloody internal conflict amongst the devils that has allowed the principality to stand to this day. The archdevils and princes of hell bicker and plot against each other, and only relatively rarely does one of them gain supremacy for long enough to mount a full-scale invasion. Though the war has stretched for centuries with decades of numerous lull between great battles, the rulers of hell are of course immortal. To them the war has barely even started, for they are beings that have existed before there was a time, and wish to savor in the agony of mortals who die in their millions. And thus the Great War rages on, sometimes with long years of silence, followed by sudden, ferocious assaults. As nominal supreme commander of the faithful armed forces, the Duke of Antioch, New Antioch, holds a title of unrivaled prestige and honor. But despite swearing fealty to the Duke, in reality, troops from across all of Christendom who come to do battle against hell operate in their own units and take commands from their own leaders. It is worth noting, however, some soldiers renounce their citizenship and take up the cross, coming to serve under Duke Constantine alone. Thus, the standing army of the Principality is the greatest single fighting force the faithful can muster. Those who serve on the walls of the Hope of Hopes are rightfully proud in their lively. In recent years, the Duke has dispatched small forces into no man's land to gather intelligence, look for artifacts of power, conduct raids on heretic forces, secure strategic strong points, and loot the battlefields for wealth and coin, and weaponry, scattered across that tortured landscape, which stretches between New Antioch and the various heretic dominions, which has over the centuries been crawling with loot. These warbands have to raise their own armies with their own coin and are simply given commission by the Duke to have, however, relics, holy, great wealth and fame across all the world ensures that there is a steady supply of ambitious leaders who are willing to risk it all in the crucible of war. Competition for loot, supplies, artifacts, and information is fierce, and these warbands often come to blows not just with the heretical forces, but with competing rivals and crazed trench pilgrims. Thus the necropolis of New Antioch overflows with the graves of fallen soldiers, but the flag of the Principality, blue as the sea, red as blood, still flows over its ramparts. But for how long is anyone's guess, as all of the reports of the scouting parties report only one thing: that the heretics are marshalling for the largest offensive in history. The board is set, the pieces are moving, the Great War is beginning anew. Yet, of the faithful warriors, not all are knights or professional soldiers. Nay, some need only the grace of the Lord. Some are but pilgrims. But that is a story for another day. Well, I do hope you enjoyed that. Now, if you have any questions, I shall answer them here. What you just saw was Trench Crusade, or at least some lore from Trench Crusade. You see, it is something of an alternate history diesel punk universe, which I absolutely adore. The art is fascinating, the lore is even more fascinating, the creators are some glorious, lovely people. Now, go and follow them on all their social media and keep up with it, or I will call the Orthodox officer on you. Hey, don't think I won't, I know his number, we're both Orthodox, you know.